Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us here today for our next Google AdWords Hangouts on Air presentation. My name is Connor. I'm an online specialist here with the Google AdWords team. And joining me today,
I'm Rachel. I'm also an online specialist in the Ann Arbor team.
Yep, we're both in our Ann Arbor, Michigan office here. All right, so today's presentation, we've been doing a little bit of a series here the last few weeks or so on conversions and optimizing for conversions. So today, we're going to continue that discussion here. Don't worry if you've missed our last couple of weeks. This is completely new content here. We'll review a few things that we discussed maybe the last week or the week before, but totally new content today. We're going to be going through some strategies for optimizing for conversion. So discussing some adjustments, some tweaks, some features, those types of things here within your AdWords account that you can really use to get the best performance. Before we dive into that though here, just a quick reminder that this is a live event. So we are here presenting to you live right now. Be sure to ask us any questions here during the event that you may have. There should be a chat box there or a comments section below that you can leave any questions. If they come in or as they come in, we'll do our best to field them there for you. But don't worry if you don't think of any now. We'll also be able to post this online on our YouTube channel. And there's always the AdWords Help Center, as well as our live support team available there for you as well. So just to give a quick rundown of today's agenda, we'll be going through a quick recap of what are conversions and some strategies here for conversion tracking. Then we'll be highlighting bid adjustments, so going through different options, some more advanced features as well for different bid adjustments that you can look at to optimize your campaigns in AdWords. Next, we'll dive into keyword match types before finally going into display targeting. So just some different options here for your accounts and your performance there that we can really highlight to get you the best conversion performance out of your campaigns. But without further ado, I'll pass it on over to Rachel here. She'll guide us through our recap of what are conversions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Connor. We're starting off with conversions. So what are conversions? Conversions are basically customer actions that are valuable to you. So this might be an online sale, it might be a phone call, it depends on the business, but it's basically an action that you want to track. And so conversions are really important with AdWords because they're going to allow you to see what is the quality of clicks that you're getting from AdWords. If you're getting a lot of clicks, that's good, but if the clicks aren't resulting in sales or calls, that's not so great. So conversions are going to be a free way for you to do that. And it's pretty simple to set up within AdWords. So it's a free tool. We definitely recommend using it. Regardless of what your business is, it's a great way to figure out like what your ROI is with AdWords for free, which is great.
Definitely.
Awesome. So then why do conversions matter? So I kind of touched on this before, but basically it's a way for you to understand what are you getting for your AdWords dollars, right? So besides clicks, what are the actions that people are doing when they get to the website? So if you are spending, $100 on AdWords a day, what is that resulting in? Is it 5 phone calls? Is it 10 sales? It kind of just depends on what you're looking to track. But it is the most important measurement for advertisers because it's one of the only ways that you're able to see what is actually happening after the person clicks on your ad. So here's a quick overview of the kind of 3 ways that you can do this. One is know your costs, right? So how much are you putting in and what are you getting out of that? And then obviously tracking your conversions. So that's done through a code on your website or through Google Analytics if you have that set up. And then finally, by tracking these conversions, it allows you to measure your return on investment, which is super important moving forward, because then you can really tailor your campaigns to the keywords, the ads, the ad groups that are producing the most valuable actions for your business.
Definitely. And I just want to mention too there, I think this is all great here from Rachel's end, just that we're not going to be going through conversion tracking implementation and setup today. If you want to look through the steps and the information on that, definitely reference. We had a presentation 2 weeks ago that should be on the AdWords YouTube channel. There's also the AdWords Help Center, or you can give our team a call at 1-866-2-Google, and a representative here on our end would be able to walk you through those steps for setup. But again, conversion tracking is super important here within the account. All right, so our next section here today is going to be on our bid adjustments. So now that we've gone through a little bit of why conversions are important, we want to go into some strategies and some features here that you can use. Some of these you may be familiar with. Hopefully we'll be able to share some new opportunities there for you with bid adjustments as well. So just a quick recap there. Your bid is at max CPC that you're willing to pay for a click on your ad. So you bid on your keywords, your ad groups there to get your ads shown, hopefully somewhere near the top of the page or wherever you're finding that sweet spot there in terms of your return on investment. for how much you're putting into your AdWords campaigns. With bid adjustments, though, we can really focus on select criteria that we want to emphasize or de-emphasize in order to find you the best return on your investment and to get the best conversion value out of your AdWords campaigns here. So based on, we'll go into the different types of bid adjustments that we can go through, but just a quick understanding of how these are going to work. A bid adjustment, you'll put in a percentage on your criteria, your option there that you're selecting. So the example here on this slide that we're looking at would be a device bid adjustment. So say, for example, you have seen really strong conversion performance, specifically from users on mobile devices. And you can check that in your account by going into a campaign, clicking on the settings tab, and then there should be a device tab report right below that. So if you say you're checking that out, you're looking at your device performance, you notice mobile devices, I'm getting really great return on investment, a lot of strong conversion numbers, maybe a really strong conversion rate that we're tracking there. That's where I really want to emphasize my bids on those mobile devices rather than desktop or tablet devices. Those are other options there. So the example here that we're looking at would be if you put in a plus 20% bid adjustment for mobile devices. So you go into your account, find mobile devices, put in plus 20%. Then what would happen is, say your starting bid for a keyword is $1. That's your max CPC. With that bid adjustment for mobile device, say I was coming onto Google, I was on my phone, I was doing a search there for whatever your keyword is. The bid that you actually are sending into the ad auction there could potentially go up to $1.20. So that would be 20%, above that $1 bid that you had put in. So it's a little bit of a jump there, but it's a way to make sure they're emphasizing mobile in comparison to desktop or tablet, which are going to be still remaining at that default starting bid of $1. So the resulting bid for searches on mobile devices would be $1.20. Again, you can also do this the reverse way though. So that was an example of a positive bid adjustment. You can also do negative bid adjustment. So if you went down, say negative 20%, that would raise lower your max CPC there, max cost per click or bid, essentially by 20% as well. So just a way to de-emphasize that as well. So with those options, you can do device bid adjustment range from negative 90% to plus 900%. So pretty large adjustment there. You can also do a negative 100% adjustment, and that would opt you out of that device entirely. So say you didn't want to show any ads on mobile, you realize, hey, just people, for whatever reason, aren't converting on mobile. I don't think that would be the case there, and probably don't recommend that, but you do have that option available there for you.
And one thing to mention with bid adjustments is that it doesn't do anything to your budget. So a lot of people get a little bit worried that it's increasing their budget by 20%. It's just a way to allocate your budget more efficiently. So that's one key kind of takeaway that I would mention.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's not affecting the budget. It's only those bids here. And you're still in full control. You're just setting a percentage amount there. So you'd actually be able to specify the percentage. Usually we recommend percents probably in like the 15 to maybe 30, 35% range. But certainly you can go higher or lower. I would just say that's usually the most common range there. If you're doing like an increase on mobile, for example, we usually recommend probably like a 20 to 30% increase there at the minimum. Usually when you do like the 5 to 10% increases, probably won't see too large of a performance difference, I would say. So now that we've gone through what are bid adjustments, we want to highlight the different types of bid adjustments that we can look at. So again, we talked about devices. That's probably one of the most standard types of bid adjustments that we can do and one of the most frequently used ones. It's important to note though that previously we only had the option of doing mobile device bid adjustments. Very, very, very soon, so hopefully within the next few weeks or so. We don't have a hard date yet, but they will be introducing bid adjustments across all accounts for also tablet computers and desktop computers. So some of you, if you go in your account right now, you may not see that option available just yet, but that will be coming to accounts shortly, so you'll have full control over your devices there. So not just mobile, but also desktop and tablet. So if you're finding stronger performance on any of those there as well. We also have location bid adjustments. So I am a huge proponent of location bid adjustments. I have seen really great results from them. I'm sure Rachel can attest as well. And they're very underutilized too. I'd say a lot of the AdWords accounts that I look in on a daily basis, not very many people are using them, and they really do go a long way in getting you stronger performance numbers there, especially for conversions. So what you can do, a common example that I usually recommend for location bid adjustments, say your campaign, you are targeting all of the United States. That's where you want to show your ads to. With location bid adjustments, you can actually highlight and focus on specific states, regions, even cities or zip codes, postal codes that you really want to highlight with your targeting there. So we're not excluding the United States, but maybe say we're in Michigan. So let's use Michigan as an example. Say you want to really emphasize Michigan. You have seen great conversion performance out of Michigan. You can actually keep the United States targeted, add Michigan as a specific state there for a location, and then put on a bid adjustment just for Michigan. So say Michigan, you want to increase your bids by 20%. You can go ahead and go into your locations, add in Michigan separately, and then if somebody is in Michigan or searching for Michigan, they'll be able to, or the system will automatically increase that bid up there to really emphasize and try to capture that conversion from them.
Yeah, and going off of the conversion aspect of it, if you start to notice that within the US, you're getting more sales from one particular area or more phone calls, then definitely add that location in and do a positive location bid adjustment to reflect that data.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a really great strategy. And again, I've seen it underutilized. Demographics as well, if you want to highlight certain demographics, maybe household incomes, those types of things here as well. Those more advanced features. We also have ad scheduling here. So similar types of thought process there, but instead of locations, we can do it based on time of day or day of the week when users may be searching for your keywords or looking for your ads there. So say you want to show your ads 7 days a week there, but really you're finding the best performance is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like early in the business week. You can go in, add an ad schedule there, and then emphasize Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays through those ad schedule bid adjustments. You can also get as specific as times of the day. So if you want to emphasize mornings versus afternoons, daytime hours versus nighttime hours, those types of things here as well. You can find all these options in your account by going into a campaign, clicking on the settings tab at the top within that campaign, and then below that settings tab, you will see a row of buttons there, or another tab buttons for all settings, locations, ad schedule, and devices. That will give you those options there. Important to keep in mind though, your campaign type does need to be set to all features in order to see all of these. If you have standard campaign as your campaign subtype selected, unfortunately the location and ad schedule tabs won't be available there to you. So you would want to go ahead and in the all settings section there, enable all features to be able to find those options.
Yeah, and there's no charge for all features.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's not changing anything on your campaign. It's just enabling these other options there for you if they're hidden. And then some of the more advanced types of bid adjustments that we have here as well. We have the top content bid adjustment. So this is going to be for YouTube and the Google Display Network, so not for search campaigns. But essentially, what's happened is our system has categorized the types of content that we consider to be the top content. So maybe YouTube videos that have garnered high numbers of impressions and views or interactions on them, those would be considered top content. And those are usually more competitive content there as well. So if you want to make sure that your ads are being shown, so say you're running a video campaign, you want to make sure that your ads are being shown on the most popular YouTube videos, the top content. Those are usually a little bit more competitive. So that's why we give the option where you can actually bid a bit higher for the top content to make sure that your ads are able to be shown on maybe the top YouTube videos or maybe the top websites there in the Google Display Network and web pages to your ads be able to be shown there in terms of beating out some competition. Targeting methods as well. So this would just be for the Google Display Network. We'll go into some more specifics on different targeting methods for it. But if you're familiar with the Display Network, we have interests, topics, placements, all of those here. You can actually adjust your bids for specific targeting methods. So say placements, you want to go through on your display campaign, you're focusing on certain websites. We'll use maybe the New York Times as an example. You're really trying to show your ads on the New York Times. You can go through and actually add in a bid increase just for that placement. So say you want to increase your bids for that website up to 50%. to make sure that you're getting strong numbers of impressions here on it, because maybe that's a really strong site there for you. The last option here would be remarketing lists for search ads. So this would be for search campaigns. If you're running remarketing or retargeting, as it's commonly called, you can actually add certain audience lists. So these would be past website visitors. You can add that list to your campaign or ad group, and then you can actually add a bid adjustment for that list. So the way that would work, it's usually easiest to think of an example. Say I've previously visited your website. Maybe a week ago, I went to your website, I was looking around, and then I left it, didn't think about it, came back to Google search a week later. I typed in the same search, the same keywords that I was looking for the previous week. If I was on that list, that remarketing audience list as a previous website visitor, you would probably want to increase your bid to make sure that I'm seeing your ad again and getting to your website again, because returning visitors are significantly more likely to convert. So say you did plus 20% for that remarketing list, I would get a little bit of a more likelihood, that I should say, of seeing your ad, since you'd be increasing that bid there for it. Again, I know I went through that there a little quickly because it does involve remarketing, which we're not discussing today, but feel free to give us a call or check out our help center there for more information on remarketing. All right, so to wind down here on our bid adjustments, just to think about some best practices for them. Usually recommended to keep consolidated campaigns that target all devices. So a common strategy that we usually see is to break out campaigns by device types. Not really necessary there, we would say. It's usually best just to make sure you have your one campaign to make sure you have consistent coverage of keywords, ads, and extensions across all devices. Again, that you can still use device bid adjustments to emphasize and focus on what you want, but we usually don't recommend creating like a mobile versus another type of campaign there. It's something that's not necessary, we would say. You can also leverage AdWords auto bidding for optimal bidding. So we do have auto bidding strategies that you can really take advantage of. Our Hangouts on Air last week really emphasized those. So you can take a look through to find some more information on auto bidding strategies. If you are using manual bidding, so if you're setting those bids yourself, we usually just recommend making sure that you're using best practices. So making sure you're doing ongoing management. You don't want bids to fall by the wayside. If a competitor increases their bids, maybe you have to increase yours as well. Make sure that you're also using those device bid adjustments there if you're using a manual bidding strategy. Really effective approach. And also, we recommend do not opting out of tablet devices for your device targeting. Many advertisers try to opt out of tablet computers just because they're not as popular, but again, you don't want to negate that performance entirely. A lot of users may start searches on tablets, come to other devices, those types of situations. So we recommend maybe not opting out of tablet computers there entirely. Last thing here on bid strategies and bid adjustments, just want to mention those auto bid strategies that we discussed last week here. We have enhanced cost per click, target CPA, and target return on ad spend, or target ROAS. Again, check out our Hangouts on Air from last week there. We'll dive into more detail on those each. But these are the different options for auto bidding or smart bid strategies that we can use to make sure they're getting the strongest performance there out of it. All right, so I will hand it on over here to Rachel now. She will be discussing keyword match types that we can really dive into to focus further.
Perfect, thanks Connor. And before we jump into that, a quick reminder that this is a live event, so we know we're throwing a lot of information at you. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us a question, and we'd be happy to help out. So starting with keyword match types. So I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with what they are, but to give you a quick overview, match types are basically different types of keywords that you can use within AdWords to figure out what you want to show for on Google. So by default, match types are going to be broad match. So we'll talk about that in a second. But think of match types as just a way within AdWords to really optimize what you're showing for. So when it comes to optimizing for conversions, this is really important because we definitely don't want you to pay for clicks that aren't as relevant as they could be. We really want you to be able to hone in on the exact audience that you're looking to target. So we're going to start off with broad match. So broad match keywords are the default keyword that you have or that you're using in AdWords when you create a campaign. So if you are somewhat new to AdWords, most of our new advertisers use broad match keywords. So this means in the interface, it's all words without any symbols. You might see some words in the future with like quotes or plus signs. We'll get into those in a second. But broad match is our most basic type of keyword. What it is it allows you to show for anything related to those keywords. So if, for example, you had in this slide, it's running shoes with broad match. That means that you can show for anything related to running, anything really related to shoes, not necessarily the two things together, which is kind of the easiest way to explain it. But it's basically the broadest, as its name implies, match type that we have. And it's not bad. I think it's great if you really want to get a lot of traffic. But what I would say is if you're using broad match, definitely monitor the search terms report, which is a report that will tell you what terms people are searching for to find your ad, and then just make sure that those are as relevant as possible, because this can open you up to a lot of irrelevant traffic if you don't monitor it closely.
Yeah, definitely a huge key takeaway there. Pay attention to your broad match keywords. We don't want you accidentally going too broad with them and getting that irrelevant traffic. So you just want to make sure if you are using broad match, which certainly nothing wrong with it, just being specific and relevant enough to your key or what you want to be showing for, essentially.
Right. Yeah, and I think one thing that we always try to emphasize as well is that if you get a lot of clicks and a lot of impressions, that's really great, but it's definitely the quality of those clicks and impressions, right? So if you, most people will see if they change to some of these other match types that we're going to go through, they're going to see a drop in the impressions and clicks that you're getting, but just remember that those clicks and impressions that you're getting are going to be probably a little bit more relevant.
Definitely.
So I'll pass it off to Connor for broad match modifier.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. So our next keyword match type here, it's going to be a little bit more specific there. So it's still a version of broad match, but it's called broad match modifier. So what this would essentially do is, again, it's still broad match, but if you actually put a plus sign, so you can actually, I don't know if there's an example here, or yeah, placing a plus sign directly in front of that term, it would actually, the key difference there is it's going to be a little bit more specific. So what I mean by that is each of those words has to be in the search or close variants of those words, but they can still be in any order. So it's not going to show like modified terms or modified words. So it still has to show running shoes in some type of version there, but those words can be in any order. So say so maybe searching for shoes for running, your ad would still be able to show. But it's not going to be going as broad as running or something like jogging shoes, because that's a different word there. It's not going to be matching as broadly there. So it just gives you a little bit more control over those broad match keywords. I'm a huge proponent of broad match modifier. I think it's a really great way to make sure you're still getting a high number of impressions and clicks coming to your ad, but also making sure that you're only showing for the most relevant types of searches and terms here that people are typing in. So it has to contain those words. They can be in any order though. So the way you set that up, again, just putting a plus sign in front of each word. Again, though, as Rachel mentioned with the broad match, definitely check out the search terms report within your account as well, just to be on the safe side of things and make sure that you know exactly what keywords and what searches there your ads are showing for. All right, I'll pass it back on over to Rachel here for our next match type, which is phrase match.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. So phrase match, we're taking it one step further, making it a little bit more narrow. So phrase match in the interface is most likely going to be seen by having quotes around the phrase. So if you look on this example, you'll see that running shoes is now in between the quote signs. So what this means is that in order for your ad to show, the entire phrase in quotes has to be typed into Google. And so it has to be in that order. So the main difference between broad match modifier and phrase match is that the two words or the phrase in the quotes has to be in that exact order for your ad to show. Now you can still show for words before or after that. So in this example, if it's running shoes, you would still show for something like blue running shoes or red running shoes. So it's not as specific as the next match type that we'll talk about, but it is a nice kind of happy medium between broad match modifier and exact match. And it is a really great way for you to see kind of in what order people searching for your ad. And I think for me, what I normally recommend is doing a combination of broad match modifier and phrase match, just to see kind of in terms of data, like what you can look at more specifically. So are people searching for running shoes exactly? Are they searching for where to find running shoes? It's kind of helpful in terms of just deep diving how people are finding your ad. So phrase match, super helpful, and the way that you would indicate using it is just by putting the words in a quote sign.
Yep, Put them in those quotes.
Yeah, perfect. I'll pass it back to Connor for exact match, one of our last match types here.
Yeah, thanks so much there, Rachel. So exact match here, this is going to be your most specific match type, also the most restricted and limited there in terms of reach. So exact match here, taking it a step further from phrase match, you may see these keywords. These are actually going to be in those square brackets. So you would want to put, our example here that we're looking at, running shoes, you can see it in those square brackets. This is only going to match the keyword. So there can't be any words before, in between, or after those terms that you have in your keyword. It would only show when somebody's typing in running shoes or close variants of that keyword. So like shoe or shoes, that would be considered a close variant. But it's not going to be showing if somebody's typing in running shoes for men, for example. Even though running shoes is in the search, your exact match keyword didn't specify for men. So your ad would not show in that case. This gives you the most control over what searches are going to trigger your ads. The caveat with that, though, is it's also going to be the most restricted and limited. So you just want to be careful with exact match that you're not going too small of a potential pool of people that would be searching for these terms here. Something like running shoes probably won't be having some issues with, but if you really start getting into the nitty-gritty of specifics with your keywords, especially things like brand names, those types of things, just want to make sure you're not going too narrow here with those exact match keywords. Again, nothing wrong with them. I do see great performance from exact match. And again, it does give you the most control. So if you want to know exactly what searches your ads are showing for, exact match is the way to go here with that.
For sure. Awesome.
Yep, pass it back on over to Rachel here for our last match type there.
Awesome, thanks Connor. So we're gonna round off our match type conversation with negative keywords. So negative keywords are probably one of the most important aspects of AdWords, regardless of kind of what match types you're using. I think everyone can benefit from using negative keywords, and what they are essentially words that allow you, that you know when they're typed into Google, you don't want your ad to show. So a really common word that we always recommend using is free. So if somebody's typing in free running shoes, you probably don't want to pay for that unless you're giving out free running shoes, which you probably aren't, but maybe. So free is a good example of a negative keyword. Some other ones that I like to use are going to be things like jobs, careers, classes. Basically what it does is it allows you to tell the system, hey, show my ad for these terms, but when this other term is typed in, don't show my ad. And the cool thing about negative keywords is you can use all the different match types that we just mentioned to you. So if you type in the keyword without any symbols, it is going to be by default a broad match keyword. So free would be a good example of a word that you want to use with broad match. But say there's a specific model or something that you don't sell and you don't want your ad to show for that, you can add that in as a phrase match or as a broad match modifier. So you can definitely use the negative keywords about as much as you can with the regular keywords. I think what I would say is that one really cool thing is that you can add in negative keywords at the ad group level. So say you don't want one of your ads to be showing for a specific type of product, you can add that product name as a negative keyword into that ad group, and that's going to make sure that those ads don't show for that term. So these are super crucial. One really good recommendation that we always kind of say as a best practice is to look at the search terms report, which is going to be under that keywords tab and then search terms report. And if you look at that, find terms. If you see terms that maybe aren't as relevant, you can add them in as negative keywords directly from the search terms report. So super awesome keyword match type here, really critical to making sure that you are still paying for the most relevant traffic. And I think that they're pretty much relevant to any business, right? You can kind of think of words that you definitely don't want to show for.
Certainly. All right, so just to give us a quick recap here of those keywords and those match types. In this visual diagram, you can see broad match there is going to be the biggest bubble. This is the the broadest and the least specific, I should say, in terms of the match types that we can look at. So this is going to make sure that you're getting the most reach and the most impressions here out of your keywords, if that's your goal. Beyond that, we have the modified broad match. So again, the plus signs in front of the words. Still a version of broad match, but it just ensures that those specific words that you're typing in, those terms, have to be in the search. They can be in any order though, so it's not going to be bringing in those broader variants. Phrase match, those words then have to be in that specific order. So if you put your keywords in quotes, words have to be in that order. but words can come before and after them there in the search. Again, exact match though, that is our most specific match type. No variations here allowed in terms of ordering, phrasings, or words there before and after the terms. It has to be exactly what you type in there in order for it to match. Again, here's just another quick diagram here that outlines those different match types. I won't go through this here. I think we've already kind of hit the nail on the head there with it, but you can see a little bit of a visual diagram of how these keywords are looking out. Maybe pause this there when you have some time if you want to look a bit further. All right, so our last section here today is going to be on display targeting, so using some different targeting options on the Google Display Network if you're using a display campaign specifically that you can focus and emphasize in order to get that best return on conversions. To start us out, I'll pass it back on over to Rachel here to bring us through our display keywords, so keeping with that keywords theme.
Awesome. Yeah, so display keywords are going to be very similar to keywords on the search term or on a search campaign, but the difference here being that display keywords on the display network are used for contextual targeting. So what we'll do is you'll give us a list of display keywords, and then we will try to find those words on the landing page of different websites on our display network. So if we're going back to our running shoes example, we're going to look for websites or landing pages that have something related to running shoes, and we're going to show your ad there. So I think display keywords are a really great way for you to, get a lot of traffic without, doing too much on your end. They're really useful if you really want to get that brand awareness. I think that similar to search keywords, right? You do have to kind of monitor and make sure that the websites that we're pulling for you automatically are going to be the most relevant. And the way that you would do that is looking at the placements. So placements are the websites that we're placing your ad on. So if you do choose to use display keywords, I would say take the same approach as you do if you're using a broad match or broad match modifier keyword in search, and just make sure that you're monitoring what websites we're pulling for you automatically so that you're best spending your money.
Certainly, certainly.
Awesome. So I'm going to pass it back to Connor for placement targeting. So
thanks so much there, Rachel. So our next targeting method here is that placement targeting. So what this allows you to do is actually pick out and choose certain websites or web pages there within the Google Display Network that your ads can appear on. Or even as specific as things like a specific mobile app, a video content, maybe a YouTube channel that you want your ad to show on. Or even as specific as an individual ad unit. So say, I think I gave the example earlier of the New York Times. You really want your ad to show on NewYorkTimes.com. You can choose that as your placement here, and then that is where your ads would be eligible to show here in that case. So this is great if you know or have specific lists of maybe websites, mobile apps, YouTube channels, those types of things where you know are already relevant. Maybe it's like a collection of websites for your industry, for your type of business there that you really want to get those types of users to be able to see your ads. You can focus those here by placement. So this gives you a lot of control over specifically where your ads would show. I would say one thing I just want to add about placements is that sometimes if you only add a couple of placements and that's all you're targeting, you might not be getting too many impressions out of your ads. So you just want to make sure you have sufficient lists of placements there, I should say. I usually see advertisers fall into the trap of saying, oh, I only want my ads to show on this one website, so I'm just going to put that as my placement. But again, there's going to be other people competing for that one website. You're not going to be getting as many impressions there as you possibly could. And there's probably always other websites, other apps, other YouTube channels that you can show your ads on that are relevant to your business. So just make sure that you're aware of those. We also have the display planner tool as well, where you can actually use that within your account. So if you go to tools and then display planner in your AdWords account, you can actually find similar placements based on the content of them for whatever your business is, whatever you're looking for. If you know already one good placement, you can put in that placement, and our system will try to find some other websites that could be relevant or related to that website that you're looking for. So again, this is going to be only running ads on websites that you've actually handpicked and selected and input those there manually yourself. Yep. Pass it back on over to Rachel here for our next targeting method.
Cool. So the next targeting method is going to be in-market audience targeting. So it's another type of targeting on the display network. I think it's one of the more unique kind of targeting methods, which I think is pretty cool. Basically, what in-market audiences are people that are actively researching and intending to buy in a certain industry or in the product or service that you offer. So I think this works particularly well if you're maybe not looking to target specific websites or keywords, but more so like a specific user, right? And that's really useful for display because unlike search, I think we can use, like things like search history, other things that we basically pull in to figure out, what bucket are these people falling in. So on this slide, there's a couple examples of the different kind of categories for in-market audiences, but this is a really great way to kind of target a group of people as opposed to content on our display network. And one thing that I forgot to mention when we started off was that a lot of these targeting methods you can actually use in conjunction with each other. So you don't have to pick just one. You definitely can if you want to, but there is a way for you to set up so that you targeting in-market audiences and maybe you're bidding higher for specific placements. So with that, we won't go over how to set that up, but if you do have any questions, there's some really great resources on our help center. You can contact us directly. And then one other thing to that is also don't narrow it too much. So display, it's a pretty big network, but if you do start layering on too many targeting options, then you can run the risk, as Connor was saying, of not getting as many impressions as you're hoping for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just want to be careful with that on display network there in terms of going too narrow, too limited. Obviously, you want to find the best targeting methods, and that's our goal for today, of finding the most relevant audience for you to optimize for those conversions. So that's our goal, but you can combine them. Just make sure not going too narrow there.
Perfect. And then I'll throw it back to Connor for our next topic.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Rachel. So our next option here are going to be affinity audiences. So similar types of categories here as interest, the in-market interest audiences that Rachel was discussing. These are going to be just people that have affinity to those categories. So what I mean by that would be somebody who is really interested or has shown a lot of interest in maybe foods online, or they're a sports fan, or outdoor enthusiasts, or auto enthusiasts. These are going to be people that are just generally interested in those topics and have some level of overall interest or affinity towards that category. So in market, again, those are people that are actively looking and are in the market. So a common example would be auto or cars. An affinity audience for auto enthusiasts would just be maybe somebody who's generally interested in looking at cars, learning about cars, looking at pictures of cars, videos of cars, those types of things. An in-market audience member, though, would be somebody who's actually actively looking to buy that car. So that would probably be more effective if that's your goal, in terms of like selling a car, maybe using the in-market audience versus somebody, maybe you just have like a informational site only about cars. In that scenario, I would probably recommend the affinity audiences. So same types of categories, just a different purpose there in terms of the level of interest and the level of engagement from the users that are on those interest category lists, essentially.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And then our next type of targeting on the display network is going to be remarketing. So you can also use remarketing for search, but for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to be focusing on display. So remarketing, or retargeting, as some people refer to it, is basically just engaging users who've been to your website before. So I personally really love remarketing. I think that it's a really great way for you to use your budget efficiently by just retargeting people that are browsing on the internet. So I'm sure some of you have probably been retargeted too. I know I have, just searching on the internet and seeing a product that I looked at before. It's a really effective way for you to get that interest back, and then hopefully that person's conversion or purchases, calls, whatever the action might be. And as I mentioned earlier, it is set up through either Google Analytics or a piece of code. If you have questions on that, definitely reach out to us directly, or look at the Help Center. There are some really great resources on how to do that, but definitely a really great way to spend your money on the display network and just make sure that you're targeting the most effective users.
Mm-hmm. Yep, cool. Exactly. All right, so one of our final options here for targeting on the display network is going to be topic targeting. So I like to think of topics and interests as being somewhat related, since we're still looking at categories of like users, or categories of what the website is. The key difference there between them, though, interest categories, so there's affinity and in-market interest, those are interests of the users themselves. So the people that are online and looking, that's what they're interested in. Topic targeting is going to be more focused on the content of the website, so the topic of the website that the user is on. So we still have categories they can choose from. There's like auto, car, beauty, fashion, shopping, all those same different types of categories here. There's some that are slightly different. Same types of ideas though, but again, it's going to be based on the topics of the website. So maybe I'm not somebody who has ever looked into cars or buying a car before, but for the first time, I'm maybe going online and I'm reading a website about cars. That would have the topic targeting there of cars maybe enabled for it. And then that would be a place where your ad would be eligible to be shown here. So it lets you reach a large audience, I would say. It categorizes all those websites, all those web pages, figures out what types of content they're related to and places them into these topic categories. And then if you select those topic categories, those are the types of topics and categories there that your ads would be eligible to show on. So it really lets you customize the places that your ads are being shown on. I think it's really effective here if you know the specific content of the websites that you want your ads to show on, but maybe you don't know the specific websites, like for placement targeting, that you want your ads to show on. You can throw on a topic or two, and then our system will automatically figure out and know where to place those ads here to make sure that you're showing on content that is relevant to your topics that you selected, which are in turn just relevant to what your business is and what you're hoping to get out of it.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Then our last type of targeting is demographics targeting. So this allows you to target audiences within a certain demographic. So we have a couple different demographics that you can choose from. Age demographics is probably one of our most common use demographics, just because you can specify if you're looking for people of a certain age range, you can target those users. We also have gender demographics and then parental status as well. So these are another type of targeting that people use. I do see a lot of advertisers use this in conjunction with a different type of targeting, just because if you're only using demographic targeting, kind of doesn't down from the display network. So it is a really great way for you to really hone in on who you're looking to target. So demographics is something else that AdWords has to offer, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely a cool feature.
Awesome.
All right, so I know we just ran through a lot of content there. Hopefully not too much for you. We'll hang on for just a minute here if there are any questions, but while we're still with us here today, I just want to outline the different support options there if you want to get in touch with us or learn more about anything that we discussed today. We're always available by phone, chat, or email, the AdWords support team. Just go on google.com, type in AdWords support. Boom, we should show up there right away. Feel free to reach out to us. You can also get expert AdWords advice on the advertiser community. Check out our YouTube channel. This will be posted there, as well as previous Hangouts on Air. There are also some other AdWords Under 5 videos and some other informative videos there you can check out. Or check us out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, anything like that. We also respond there. But thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm sure Rachel can agree. It was a huge pleasure.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But it was a lot of fun there. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And tune in next week. We have another great Hangouts on Air presentation there in store for you. So be sure to check that out. But other than that, everyone have a great week.